Welcome to our virtual fire today, my friends. Today we're exploring one of the most beloved trickster tales from the Native American tradition called The Coyote Steals Fire. Now, this story appears in many forms across different tribes, from the Shoshone to the Nez Perce, from the Klamath to the Karuk peoples. Each version actually carries its own details, but they all share a powerful theme: how the humans first received the gift of fire. Now, Native American stories often contain layers of wisdom, teaching us not just about survival skills, but about our relationship with our natural world and with each other. Perhaps you've noticed how on cold winter nights, when you gather close to a warm fire, there's something almost magical about its glow. Indeed, my storytelling, the Fireside Storyteller, really started as I began to share stories with my Boy Scouts for many years. Something that connects us to each other and to our ancestors who gathered around flames just like these thousands of years ago. The connection is at the heart of today's tale. Long before electric lights and modern heating, fire was the most precious resource for warmth, for cooking, and for community. So let's discover how, according to the Native American traditions, the clever coyote helped bring this essential gift to our human world. In the time before humans had fire, the world was much colder, a darker place. Winter nights stretched long and bitter, with people huddling together, their breath forming clouds in the freezing air. Food was eaten raw, for there was no way to cook it, and darkness fell early, with nothing to push back the shadows except the distant, unreachable stars. High atop the tallest mountain lived the fire beings, selfish creatures who hoarded flame for themselves alone. Their bodies glowed like embers in the darkness, and they danced around their magnificent fire pit where flames leaped and twirled in shades of gold, crimson, brilliant blue. The fire beings kept careful watch over their treasure, for they had decided long ago that fire was too powerful and precious to share with those who dwelt below. The animals and the people in the valley often looked up at the mountain peaks, where a warm glow painted the night sky. They wondered what it would be like to have that wonderful warmth for themselves. "If only we had fire," sighed an old woman, rubbing her gnarled hands together. "Our children wouldn't shiver through the night." "If only we had fire," murmured a young hunter. "We could cook our meat and see the faces of our loved ones after sunset." These whispers reached the sharp ears of Coyote, who was both clever and curious. Unlike other animals, Coyote wasn't content to simply accept the way things were. His bright eyes narrowed as he gazed up at the mountain peak. Why should the fire beings keep such a gift to themselves? He wondered aloud, his breath forming frosty clouds. "I shall bring fire down to the people." The other animals overheard and gathered around him. Their eyes were wide with doubt. "Impossible," said Beaver, slapping his tail against the ground. "The fire beings never sleep. They guard their fire day and night, and the mountain is treacherous," added Bear with a grumble. "The path is steep and slippery with ice." But Coyote only smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Then I shall need help from all of you. Together we can bring fire to everyone." So Coyote devised a plan. He gathered the swiftest and strongest animals: the eagle, the cougar, fox, squirrel, frog, and many others. To each he assigned a special task, asking them to position themselves at different points down the mountainside. "Be ready," he told them. "When the moment comes, each of you must do your part without hesitation." When all was ready, Coyote climbed to the very top of his own pine tree. From there, he leaped with all his might toward the mountain peak. sailing through the cold air until it landed on its edge. Carefully, he crept toward the fire beings' camp. The fire beings were indeed awake, their bodies glowing like hot coals as they danced around the sacred fire on the mountaintop. Coyote watched from behind a boulder, waiting patiently. He knew that even the most vigilant guards could become distracted. Reaching into his fur, Coyote pulled out a small bundle of dry pine needles and twigs he had collected, and then he began to sing. At first his voice was barely a whisper, but gradually it grew louder, a strange, beautiful melody that floated on the night air. The fire beings paused in their dance, cocking their fiery heads to listen. "What is that sound?" one said. "It's like nothing I've ever heard," said another. Coyote's song grew more intricate, weaving a spell of curiosity and wonder. Unable to resist, the fire beings moved away from their fire pit, following the mysterious music toward the edge of the mountains. This was Coyote's chance. Quick as lightning, he darted from his hiding place, and he thrust his bundle of pine needles into the flames and fled with the burning prize tucked safely inside his thick fur. The moment the fire beings realized what had happened, they roared with rage, their bodies flaring bright with fury. "Thief!" they cried, their voices like crackling flames. "Stop him!" Coyote ran faster than ever before, his paws barely touching the ground as he raced down the mountainside. The fire beings surged after him with a wave of heat and light. Coyote could feel their scorching breath on his tail, but he didn't dare look back. He continued to run, and when he reached the spot where Eagle waited, Coyote passed the burning bundle to him. Eagle soared into the air with fire clutched in his talons, while Coyote collapsed, exhausted. The fire beings swerved toward Eagle, who flew as fast as his powerful wings could carry him, and when he could fly no further, he passed the fire to Cougar, who bounded down the rocky slope with incredible speed. So it continued, each animal carrying precious fire a little further down the mountain, staying just ahead of the pursuing fire beings. From Cougar to Fox, from Fox to Squirrel, who scampered through the treetops, the fire passed from one to another. But the fire beings were relentless. As their fire passed to Frog, they seemed certain to catch him. Poor Frog's legs were tired, and he could feel the heat of the fire being closed on him. With one desperate leap, he dove into the rushing river, still holding the fire. And the fire being skidded to a halt at the riverbank. Water was the one thing that could extinguish their glowing bodies, and they dared not follow. "The fire is lost," they wailed, their voices hissing like dying embers. "Tss, it's gone forever." But clever Coyote had planned for this too. Frog had swallowed the fire to keep it from the water. He swam to the opposite shore, where the people and animals waited anxiously. There, he coughed up the fire into a pile of dry wood that had been prepared. Immediately, the wood caught flame, creating the first campfire in the world for human beings. The people gasped with delight as warmth spread through their cold limbs and light pushed back the darkness. They reached out their hands to feel the wonderful heat as they watched in awe as their faces glowed in its light. The fire beings, defeated, returned to their mountain. From that day on, they guarded what remained of their fire even more jealously. Which is why, some say, volcanoes sometimes erupt in fiery rage. As for Coyote, his fur had been singed in a few places from carrying the flame, which is why coyotes to this day have patches of dark fur, but he didn't mind. He sat proudly near the fire, accepting thanks of the humans and the animals alike. "Fire is a gift," Coyote told them. "Like all powerful beings, it must be respected and used wisely. It can harm your homes and cook your food, but remember, Fire can also burn if treated carelessly. The people nodded solemnly, understanding the responsibility that came with this new gift. And ever since that day, humans have kept Coyote's gift alive, passing flames from one hearth to another, from one generation to the next, just as the animals passed it down the mountain. And so, the gift of fire came to humanity through the cleverness of Coyote and the teamwork of many animals. This story reminds us that many of the things we take for granted today, like the warmth of a heater or the lamp of light, were once considered magical, powerful gifts. Native American stories like Coyote Steals Fire teach us about cooperation, cleverness, and respect for powerful forces in nature. They remind us that even the smallest creatures, like frog, have important roles to play when we work together. The next time you see a campfire flickering in the night, or even when you turn on a light switch, perhaps you'll remember the coyote's daring theft and the relay race down the mountain that brought warmth and light to the world. And if you enjoyed our story from Native American tradition, please like this video and subscribe to the Fireside Storyteller for more tales from around the world. You know, what other gifts of nature do you think we really need to appreciate more? And what types of stories would you like to hear more? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll see you next time by our virtual fire.